Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Open Task Podcast. I'm Calvin Smith along with Joe Carlos and our special guest, Christopher Lee. Joe, congratulations on a great week last week.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was a great week, statistically. Statistically, it was a great week. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And it's good to see you. Good to see you boys. You men, excuse me. Oh, Lord. Good to see you men.
I feel boyish at times.
I know you do. It's good to see you all.
Chris, how was your week in Huntsville, man?
Well, we are down to rationing the last of the rye and the bourbon. Hopefully, I can make it to the grocery store on Monday.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully they will have restock.
You don't have Drizzly there. That delivers alcohol, I guess, in Huntsville. You don't have the Drizzly service.
It wouldn't matter. Even the post office hasn't run this week. So Governor Ivey has already come on TV and given a speech from Deep Impact. We will rebuild.
Joe, did y'all get some of that winter precipitation?
We did not.
But Atlanta closed the schools nonetheless, I'm sure.
In anticipation of what we were told was going to happen, yeah. So Atlanta closed the schools on, I believe it was Tuesday. So Sage was home. Sage was home. Yeah. Sage was home Tuesday. I went in. Morehouse opened at 10:30, closed at 4. So, nice. I was there at 10:30 and I left at 4.
Nice. Yeah, we've been working virtually in the clinical capacities all week in Nashville. 9 inches of snow. But as you can probably hear, the sirens are back. People are getting out and about slowly but surely here. Just in time for another riveting weekend of football.
God bless.
God bless indeed. Before we jump into that, I want you guys to know, and Chris, just indulge us for a second. I received a call on Sunday morning as I was preparing to go see American Fiction, which was a wonderful film. Everybody should go see American Fiction, by the way. Incredible film. But I was preparing my mind and my body to go see American Fiction, and I received a call from Joe to say, drop everything you're doing and go turn to VH1 Classic. And whenever Joe tells me to do something like that, I do it because he's not going to steer me wrong. Never has and never will.
I knew he was home. I knew he was home though. Still, that was part of it.
That was a part of it. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. So at any rate, I turned on VH1's Classic, as it were, and they were doing the pop video. Whatever they call that conglomeration of pop video, whatever. Yeah. And they were showing a video, and the first thing that came to mind to me was the Jerry curl was in full fashion in the 80s. This is a video that included the likes of Robert Townsend.
Yes.
Michael T. Williamson from Forrest Gump and Waiting to Exhale and Heat fame.
Yes.
Our guy, what's the guy's name again?
Oh wow, I can't remember his name. I just knew you were gonna roll off the tongue.
He was the odd guy out, but you know him. He's one of those black dad guys from everything and everywhere.
I'm gonna get his name in just a second.
Joe's gonna get his name, but the lead singer of this particular music video, our man with the greatest Jerry curl in history, Stoney Jackson. It is the video for Dan Hartman's "I Can Dream About You." Which, a lot of people can be like, I think I remember that song. Go look it up. There are 2 videos for it. There are 2 videos. And this conversation Joe and I had as we were watching this video. We're like, hold on, man. I remember another video for it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But he was like, this is from a movie. And we were trying to figure out what movie it was. I think at one point we were like Eddie and the Cruisers. Turns out it was the movie Streets of Fire, which is a fantastic 80s movie. If you've not seen Streets of Fire, you absolutely need to see it. And they were a group that was singing a cover, I guess, of Dan Hartman's "I Can Dream About You" in concert. Did you find the other guy's name, Joe?
No, I went down a crazy rabbit hole, unfortunately, because the way I googled it, it shouldn't be legal. The way I just googled what
it wasn't
black
that guy. It wasn't Roger Mosley.
No, he's in License to Kill.
He's in License to Kill. He is literally a black that guy.
He's in License to Kill, and he's in he's in Die Hard.
Yes, he was in Die Hard. He was one of the FBI agents or something like that in Die Hard.
Yeah.
At any rate, so that got us down a rabbit hole. They showed so many fantastic videos on VH1 Classic. I couldn't stop watching, from the Deion Ferris video to the Cardigans.
I know what you do. Yes, keep going. I'm sorry. So sorry.
E.G. Daily. No, it was not E.G. Daily.
No, it's not him. That's not him.
That is actually Dottie from Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. Actually,
Robert Davi.
Grand L. Bush.
Grand L. Bush. It's a great name too. It's an amazing
a fantastic name.
I wish we had a I just put his face up right now. But Grand L. Bush, during this video, you have to watch Dan Hartman, I Could Dream About You. And Calvin did the research, and because they weren't Dan Hartman, they were just lip syncing.
Yeah. So
Dan Hartman is a white man, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is the whitest of white men.
But these four brothers, the great Grand L. Bush, the great Michael T. Williamson, the great Robert Townsend, and of course, the amazingly coiffed Stoney Jackson. And if you don't know who Stoney Jackson is, stop right now, look it up. Stoney Jackson, very big in the 80s.
Oh yeah,
227.
Yes,
the most perfect Jerry curl ever. The Beat It video. I mean, yes. his Jerry curl was better than Ice Cube and Deion Sanders. I think roll into one. I believe, and AC Green. I agree. Because just the volume was so intense. Yes, but they were in the I Can Dream About You video, which I'd never seen before. It's kind of like seeing the Liberian Girl video. And the first time you see Liberian Girl, you're like, now, Chris, have you ever seen the Liberian Girl video?
Yes.
Yes. Please answer in the affirmative. Please witness.
Yes.
Please answer in the affirmative. Yes. So if you haven't seen the Liberian Girl video, please go watch that as well. Yeah. The full version because there's a full version that gives you everybody's name. And like when my daughter watches it, she doesn't know anybody really.
It's a history lesson though.
It is. She knows Michael Jackson, and she knows Jasmine Guy. But
at Future Spellman, she is.
Yes. Here we go. Howard University.
Sorry, Keith.
Praying for Howard University.
At any rate, man,
it's a distant eighth right now.
Thank you for that digression, man. I really, again, that made my Sunday because Saturday my picks were ruined by the end of the first game.
You ruined me. Yes.
That Negro. Anyway, man. All right.
I've been. This is how we get off track.
You want to go through the picks and talk about the results from last week, or?
Oh, sure. I'm happy to do so. Okay.
Price Waterhouse envelope.
Yes. It is. This is it. You can see the picks there from last week. Okay. So in game one, we had the Cleveland Browns travel to Houston's NRG Stadium to play the Houston Texans. Calvin Miles Smith, Mad Dog, the third Mad Dog, chose the Cleveland Browns, as did Christopher Edward Lee Esquire. And I chose the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans bested and beasted the Cleveland Browns, ending the Joe Flacco 4-week experience. Not unlike Dan Majikowski before, the Magic Man.
Hey, good call. Good pick. Good pickup, man.
Yes, the Magic Man.
The Magic Man. And I get a lot of grief from my buddy Niall because for a brief period of time, I enjoyed that era. And
the Magic Man. Not unlike Willie Beeman as well. Who lost to that next week. He beat Dallas and the Dallas Knights, and he lost the next week.
Yes.
But then he went to the expansion team in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay. The second game, we all picked the Kansas City Chiefs against the Miami Dolphins in what I think it's the coldest game on record, or one of the coldest games on record.
One of them. I think it's just slightly warmer than that. Cincinnati.
I'm talking to two national Quiz Bowl national champions, so I love throwing a fact out there.
I think they're factoring in the wind chill now, not actual temperature. So if you want to take wind chill, it's the coldest game now.
I knew who to ask.
Temperature.
I knew what to say. I knew I was going to convey differing answers on that.
I still say the freezer bowl.
Okay.
San Diego and Cincinnati. And
true. It was 37. I think it was 37 degrees below. Yeah. That makes no sense. They shouldn't have been able to go out. They shouldn't have had to go play that game. But Kansas City beat Miami, and then the games were moved around, right? So then the third game, the Dallas Cowboys, hosted the Green Bay Packers, and the Packers punched Dallas firmly in the mouth from the opening kick. And I sat there when Green Bay went down the field in the first drive. I was sitting by myself, and I just said quietly under my breath, Dallas is going to win this. Dallas is going to lose this game. It looked like they were getting pushed and had no fight in them. And we can relitigate that and go back over it if you want, whatever. I'm happy to do that. But Green Bay came out, ran their program, did everything they wanted to do anywhere, and shocked the world, shocked Vegas, shocked everybody but the Green Bay Packers and their fans. And they beat the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. So that was probably the biggest upset of the playoffs at this point. Then Detroit, and we all chose Dallas, so we all messed that one up. Then Detroit hosted the Los Angeles Rams. Great game, highly emotional. Probably the best game of the playoffs so far, in my opinion. And it was actually, it's not even close. There's no game that's even close. But I found myself rooting for the Rams for a number of reasons. But a really good game. But Detroit won, which we all picked that Detroit would win. Very big for those from Detroit. Congratulations for them. Then we had the Buffalo Bills, which we all chose. The Buffalo Bills. Who'd they play?
Pittsburgh.
Just kidding. They played the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Fighting Mike Tomlins.
Mike Tomlins. They were way up, and then they let them come back in, like Josh, because you've got Josh Allen. So they let them come back in, erratic play. But Buffalo bested them, and we all chose Buffalo. So then the last game, Calvin chose Philadelphia, the NFC, the National Football Conference reigning champions, who were playing host. Who were hosted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Chris and I chose, and thus spawns the title of this album, Midnight Marauders. So there were 2 Monday night games, which was just amazing. Just an amazing thing for King Day, right? Just two pro football games. That's what he dreamed of, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So here we are. So Chris and I chose Tampa, and Calvin chose Philadelphia. And if you don't know that, sorry. That's from Philadelphia, which 30 years ago.
Yeah, won an Oscar, right?
I won a few. Yeah. So I won a few Oscars. So having said all that, for the week, Joseph went 5-1. Christopher went 4-2. Calvin went 3-3.
That's right.
After being perfect last year.
After being perfect. I told you I was going to regress to the mean.
Silver medal, baby. Just like the 72 U.S. basketball team.
Hey, man.
We don't even acknowledge that silver. But yes, just like the 72. But Calvin, the beauty of it all is I'm sure you'll catch up.
Hard times, Daddy. They done put hard times on me, Daddy.
They have. I'm sure you'll catch up.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know, man, because this week's slate of games is
it doesn't get any easier.
It's it's an interesting slate of games this week. And so let's start out with Saturday's 3:30 game. And I'm kind of angry that this is the 3:30 game, really. I think that the Texans, in the way that they played, they probably deserve a little bit better than this showing here. But at the same time, they are going into Baltimore. So the Texans and the Ravens are our 3:30 on Saturday game, our first divisional round matchup. CJ Stroud looked incredible. He looked poised. He looked, mature beyond his years. He was slinging the rock, was unfazed. it didn't appear that he even gave a second thought to the ferocious Browns defense that had been there all year. Myles Garrett's name was not uttered, and they came through. Devin Singletary played a hell of a game as well. Their defense, which was unsung to that point, really stepped up in NRG field. And congratulations to King Malachi and Antoy Bell and the other Houston fans in our lives for that riveting victory. Chris, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Who do you like and why?
No, it's been 3-4 months, longer than that, since they last played in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's a much improved team from there. So is Baltimore.
Yeah.
Just looking at how Baltimore's performed this season as well. I know we hate to say this about other conferences and teams and divisions, but Baltimore would be the NFC West champion as well at 4-0. They'd be the AFC South champion at 3-1. So if I have to pick for Saturday, it's just one thing. Okay, I can't whistle that well. Baltimore. Far than death. Come on, Omar.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. I thought you had a moment. I thought you had a health moment. I was really I was terrified there for a moment. I thought you had a health moment. I was like Wendy Williams. We caught on film.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go to Huntsville and
call somebody there. I know.
Yeah. All right, Joe, what you think?
I like the kid. I like Stroud a lot. I believe in him. Unfortunately, I think in a very close game that Baltimore is just going to be too much. I think Lamar has heard all the talk about his playoff performances, and I think he's going to put on an amazing show in front of the home crowd. And the home crowd is going to make a difference. And I think they're going to make a huge difference in this game, by the way. Yeah. And I know Houston, kicked the daylights out of Cleveland because they did. I think being at home is a big part of kicking the daylights out of them too.
Yeah.
And it was a 65-degree day in Houston. It was perfect. They were rocking and rolling in there. I think that the weather is going to affect Houston a great deal as well.
Yeah.
And I see Baltimore gutting out a victory. I don't see Houston folding on them. I think they have a great deal of pride, and they will fight hard. They have a little more offensive magic than I thought they did in Houston, and their defense did show up. But I don't think it'll be enough in Baltimore on Saturday. It's a weird time for this game, but I don't think it'll be enough for Baltimore on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I see Baltimore winning.
So this is going to be a pick where all three of us agree.
Okay.
I definitely have Baltimore winning. I got John Harbaugh, who has playoff experience. He's won a Super Bowl, knows how to get his team up. Lamar has something to prove. Yeah. He definitely, to your point, Joe, he's had some not so stellar playoff performances, and he wants to show the world that he's capable of doing that. And I think he is. Moreover, I think, the weather is definitely going to play a part in M&T Bank Stadium. It's not NRG Field. It's not the cozy confines of Houston, and to that end, CJ Stroud played at the Ohio State University, so he's used to the elements. You know what I mean?
Yes, he did.
But yeah, exactly, he did.
Yes,
but that's not where he's been training all season. That's not, that's not where he's, the most comfortable. So I can't see a way that Baltimore loses this. Now, Baltimore, the games they've lost this year have all been like kind of a letting the foot off the pedal type, loss. They definitely are a team that's susceptible to kind of playing down their competition, which is something you got to look out for in the playoffs. But I'm not going to hedge this at all. I think Baltimore wins. I think they have something to prove, and they will prove it as the number 1 seed. So there we are. We have all three in agreement on Baltimore winning this matchup. Moving on to the second matchup of Saturday. The second in the evening matchup is the Packers of Green Bay, as we mentioned, who had shocked the world going into Dallas and beating the Cowboys. Now they gotta keep running that gauntlet because they're gonna run into that team in Santa Clara, California, the San Francisco 49ers. They of the precocious young Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy and his cadre of always do wells, as it were. He's got a squad around him, but nonetheless, he has to sling that rock. And I'll pick first here. I think San Francisco wins this one rather easily. Jordan Love is a beast. I think we've seen over the past few weeks he's coming into his own. He's got a good young receiving core. This is the youngest team in the league, by the way. This Packers team is going to be here for a while if this last 8 games are any indication. But I think that as our man Polly Wildman said in The Sopranos, is his pumpkin turned into a coach, or his coach turned into a pumpkin, as it were. Sounded more like a what's his face, Junior? Carmine Jr.
Carmine
Jr. Little Carmine than I did Paulie. But
Malaprop.
I digress. Yes. Little Malaprop. But at any rate, I think San Francisco wins this one. Joe, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't believe in Brock Purdy. I think he's a product of a system.
Okay.
And I don't believe in Kyle Shanahan. So, and I don't care if I'm wrong. And I don't care if I'm wrong. And then, I don't care if I'm wrong. I don't believe in Kyle Shanahan. I think they're arrogant without having done anything yet. Other than earning the first seed. They earned the first seed. They're in the bye. I think they need to keep playing.
Okay.
Because they didn't really end the season as world beaters.
That's fair.
They lost some games. Granted, they were missing Samuel and Trent Williams and Kittle and things of that nature, but they lost some games. They caught no flack for losing their games. And I'm tired of this. So this is the race man in me coming out. Maybe not the objective one in me coming out. But I got a sneaky suspicion that Green Bay is going to have something for them. And I don't think they are ready. I don't think they know what they're about to see. I don't think that they realize how fast these guys are. I don't think they realize how determined these guys are, how unafraid these guys are. Even though San Francisco is a behemoth, but they're very, very mortal. And Drago got cut over his eye, under his eye.
The Russian is cut.
Yes. He got cut under his eye. I've seen Bosa get manhandled by the Baltimore front, who we don't talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen Lamar make Fred Warner look like he's in a blender. I've seen those weak corners, those corners that nobody talks about out there on the back end there for San Francisco. Nobody really talks about that, right? Because they got so much pressure on the first and second level.
It ain't Tim McCarr and Eric Allen.
It's not. Or Deion Sanders, right?
Yes,
or Merton Hanks was this stuff, right? It's not even him, the gimmick. But I'm just saying, I got a feeling I'm just going to go with Green Bay.
Okay.
It's something I've never said in my life. I'm just going to go with Green Bay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna leave it at that. And in the event that I'm right next week, then I'll be very effusive and ebullient, and just wait to pick up the phone Saturday night if I'm right. if I'm right.
There you go. Okay, Chris.
Well, looking at these teams, I think Green Bay is good. I think they showed us that they're not pretenders last week. But I get it. You have to preserve you guys. No sense in running up the score. But I felt they let Dallas back in. Yeah, they saved their former coach's job. But Green Bay is no Baltimore. Might be a little bit Rams-ish. San Francisco has some rest. I think Green Bay left a lot of emotion in Dallas. Give San Francisco one win this postseason.
Oh, I see a little foreshadowing there. Okay, very
foreshadowing.
Good, very good. Very good. So we have Joe going out. Not necessarily go out on a limb. I think
It's a hot take. It's a hot take. It's a hot take. It's a hot take.
That's the way of the world now. I get it.
It's a hot take. It's a hot take.
I get it. Well, that's on record. Moving along.
It is.
We got
about to be on Canva.
The two feel-good stories of last week.
Yeah.
The Buccaneers of Tampa Bay. Shout out to my main man, Carlos Leach, Reach for Leach, attorney. If you need a personal injury attorney, he's my guy in Tampa and Atlanta. His squad, Buccaneers, he saved face. He did not have to have the Jordan face put on his face last week as his Buccaneers embarrassingly beat the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that I picked, and moved on to play another game. Baker Mayfield looked, like the number one pick. He looked great, and the defense was ferocious, as we are kind of used to at this point with Tampa Bay's defenses and the defensive coaches that they bring in.
Yeah, Tom Bowles.
Yeah, Morehouse man or Morehouse coach anyway.
Morehouse coach,
and they look good. And speaking of looking good and running on emotion from Chris Lee's last point, those Lions, man. Hey, they really from start to finish. I mean, you could hear that Ford Field crowd just erupting with every good play, and with each play that didn't quite go their way, it was kind of you could tell they were on edge. They reminded me a lot of when that first little playoff run that the Falcons had with Mike Smith in the early 2010s. And it was a good time for the Falcons back then, and I think the Lions are building something that will be sustainable. They certainly, like I said, held off the Rams and looked good in that matchup there, and so now they get to play another home game in their palatable, their plush Ford Field, downtown Detroit, wonderful stadium that they have there. And so on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Lions and the Buccaneers playing. Chris, who you like?
Well, I looked at all the surroundings going on with that game. So it'll be about 23 degrees in Detroit. Sure, it'll be 72 degrees and no wind in Ford Field, but it'll be 23 degrees. It'll be cold in the deep.
How are they supposed to keep peace?
Tampa Bay is 3-2 in dome stadiums. I believe that Detroit is still riding high off of beating the Super Bowl champion from week 1. They have something to prove. They're in Detroit, and to show that I can separate Saturday ball from Sunday ball. The Detroit Lions will have a shot at the George Halas Trophy because they will win on Sunday.
Okay. I love it. lots of little nuggets there for us. Joe,
yes,
what do you
think? Thank you. Well, I was born in Lansing, Michigan.
Yes, you were. North
of Detroit at Sparrow Hospital. And most people from Lansing were born in Sparrow. Born at Sparrow. And I was delivered by the great Dr. Oliver Beeman. God bless Ollie Beeman for delivering me some 49. Yes, thank you. So 49. Thank you. 49 years and 3 months ago on next Thursday. And or next Monday. On Monday. And so what do I have to say? I've watched the Lions since Billy Sims. I've watched the Lions my whole life. My father is a native of Kalamazoo, Michigan. I think I mentioned it in the previous playoff podcast. He came to Dallas to do his residency. He came to Dallas talking Lions. My first football is a Detroit Lions Pete Rozelle football. And no one wanted to talk Lions with him. He couldn't believe it. Alice Karras. We watched Webster. Okay.
Yes.
Mondo love hot dog.
What do white women
about it? It's a good question for you, Calvin. But the point being, from a great movie. But the point being, I tried to clean it up. The point being, I've watched the Lions for a long time in futility, and everybody says, "Oh, since '92." I watched that game in '92. I referenced that game in our previous situation. Now, I should have said something actually in the previous game. The San Francisco 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. I know nobody talks about that, but I'd very much like to bring that back to the national discussion. Yes. That they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. The Washington Redskins haven't won a Super Bowl. I apologize. The Washington Redskins haven't won a Super Bowl since 1992. The Oakland Raiders haven't won a Super Bowl since 1984. I just want to put that in the discussion there. But the Detroit Lions have never won a Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions haven't been to a championship game since January of '92, when Songus had the lead. Let that set.
Swimming Songus.
The late
Songus. The late great Paul Songus.
The late great.
That's with a T for all you kids out there. But having said that, I think Detroit takes care of business. It was a great emotional win. They looked kind of like Brady's Bucks on the second run last week. But even with all that, they're not going to be able to come into that loud place and play that same game. I think Hutchinson's going to be all up in Baker's stuff.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be all over him. St. Brown, Detroit is too stacked right now. They got over the emotional win last week. Now they can get down to execution and just going out and destroying a team. And I think that's what's about to happen.
Yeah. So, I think both of you guys make very salient points. I have a lot of Detroit ties. Some I can talk about, some I can't.
That's true.
But my best friend from med school, who's been a guest on our show. My main man, Jeff Jones. Die hard, lifelong Lions fan. Never wavered. He admitted this past week that he may have once considered possibly going over to the side of the Washington Redskins, but didn't. Honolulu blue. Honolulu blue is his favorite color. And so no one was more excited and happier about that win than my man Jeff. Maybe his line brother Dave Lewis, who also represents Detroit very well. But I hear all the points you guys are making. And I'm thinking that Lions defense, Hutchinson looked amazing. And what's my guy's name from Alex Anzalone, the former Saint, looked amazing. Goff had me sold for a little bit in the first half. Second half, it was the Goff I remembered, and somehow they held on. St. Brown has a chip on his shoulder. He's angry. He was snubbed for the Pro Bowl, which means absolutely nothing. But notably was voted as first team All-Pro, which means everything. Right? But
it's so like this generation not to know that that's more important.
Yeah. Well, but that being said, Detroit
wanted all
versus everybody.
Detroit versus everybody.
Detroit versus everybody mentality that Dan Campbell has bought into and infused that locker room with, changed the culture there for that team. It's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be closer than people think. Because the Buccaneers, say what you will about the NFC South and how that division played. The Bucks, they made no question about being a better team than a swooning Philadelphia team. I grant you,
they did.
But they went in and stepped on their necks and really just asserted their dominance. And I think this is a team that's built to play on the road. You mentioned their 3-2 dome record. And one of those losses, I believe, was to the Atlanta Falcons. But
thank God.
All told, I think it's going to be a close match. But I think the Lions make it to the NFC Championship. I think that we're seeing a resurgent Lions team that again is looks like it's going to be built to last with the young talent that they have on both the offensive and defensive fronts. David Montgomery is going to have a great game. I think Jahmyr Gibbs also comes through with some of those out of the backfield catches and I think they make the difference. So I'm going with the Lions as well. So moving along, the marquee matchup.
Moving right along.
The marquee matchup. It seems that the NFL always has this one matchup every year where there's this rivalry they've built up, and classic games from years past and NFL lore and legend, and this game lives up to some of that hype if they were playing a few years ago. But this year's editions of both of these teams has not quite been up to luster, in my opinion. Neither one of these teams has played to the degree that they usually do for various and sundry reasons. Nonetheless, they're meeting up, and this time the playing field is a little different. This would be Patrick Mahomes' first road game in all of his playoff history. He's done some neutral matchups. And one would argue that maybe that Tampa game might have been a road game, but I digress. We got the Chiefs and the Bills playing in Buffalo, where they circle the wagons. The Bills Mafia is going to be out there in force. Joe, who you like?
This is tough, man. I first I had to look to see if Peyton and Eli were doing a game, and they're going to do the first game. I think they'll beat the Houston-Baltimore game. I think they're doing that game.
Okay.
Because I can't watch Aikman and Buck. I just can't do it. I cannot, will not. So this is a tough one. I'm tired of the Chiefs. But right when I get tired of them, then I kind of feel sorry for them at the same time. But I'm tired of the Chiefs. I'm tired of because I think they're smoke and mirrors, in my opinion. And they decide when they want to play.
Yeah.
I think that their receivers have left Pat out to dry. That includes Mr. Kelsey at different points throughout the season. Though he was all pro, that includes him at different points throughout the season. The road could have been much simpler with some catches.
Yeah.
Actually, we could look at 3 catches, and this game is in this game is in Kansas City. Yeah. And I know you could say, "Oh, look at the pass interference." Yeah, but if they caught the ball, it wouldn't come down to that pass interference no call, which was, of course, a pass interference, right? But having said that, Buffalo, I don't know what the difference is between this year and last year and the year before that. I literally can't tell you the difference, other than they're running the ball much better. Okay, so with Cook, they're running the ball exceptionally well, and in the playoffs, in this level, you have to be able to run the ball. And if you can't run the ball and you can't throw the ball, you can't win. And play defense, you can't win. So between the two teams, the Bills are the ones that can run the ball. In my opinion, Kansas City does not run the ball consistently. Between the two teams, quarterback play. Okay, let's look at quarterback play. Definitely erratic for the boy in blue. Definitely erratic, up and down. It's going to feel good at home. I hate that it's a night game out there. Like, why do you do this the coldest part? I just don't get it. I don't understand it, but it's just me. Whatever. I think Pat will play a good game, a better game than Josh, but I think Josh will not have to do the same things Pat will have to do to will his team to win. Because Josh has a running game and Pat does not have a running game. Josh has receivers who will probably catch the ball. Pat has receivers who could very well drop the ball and lose him the game. Because let's be honest, well, whatever. If it's not Pacheco and if it's not Kelsey, I don't know who you really trust. The other tight end, 83 or 89, whatever his number is. Yeah, but we don't trust Tony at all, right? Yeah. So I have been wrestling with this for the last 2 days because I knew this question was coming up, and so the answer I had. So then it comes down to coaching.
Okay.
Andy Reid is a far superior coach to Sean McDermott.
Okay.
Andy Reid in this situation is a far superior coach to Sean McDermott. Andy Reid has bested Sean McDermott every time. However, these have all been when Sean McDermott is on the road.
Yeah.
Not at whatever the heck Bill Stadium is called. Rich State. I'm going to say
it's not Ralph Wilson Stadium.
It is Ralph Wilson. I'm going to say I like Rich
not
Stadium.
anymore. It's
Highmark Stadium. That's right.
Rich Stadium. Ralph Wilson.
Rich Stadium in Orchard Park, New York.
Orchard Park, New York. Right in Orchard Park.
Okay.
I believe
the Wrigley Field of the league.
Yeah,
I believe they, for the first time in forever, in a while, they get back to the AFC title game with a win at home, and we can finally put this Kansas City thing on ice for a little while until they really address their needs as a team. Because I think they've just been putting some people out there saying they're good enough. And I think there's some fundamental issues, and I really do believe they're missing their offensive coordinator going into this game. So who brought them championships. And I want to say that, and I'm going to end mines. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, just like I had in Super Bowl 26.
There you go.
25. No, 24. I was with Buffalo in Super Bowl 24.
All right. That's a compelling argument. Chris.
It's very long. Sorry.
Well, I will take a good portion of Brother Carlos's analysis and just add, 2 points. Week 14, the Bills did win at Arrowhead. And
yes.
I know Festivus is over, but I just want to add a personal grievance.
Go for it.
Highmark, Ralph Wilson, Orchard Park, whatever.
It's always in Orchard Park.
Worst lighting. And then on top of it with the CBS cameras. Oh.
Always looks like a dream, a cloudy dream. Well, guess what?
They will be playing in the shadows.
But it'll be an NBC. It'll be on NBC though.
Okay.
Everything's crisper. Everything's crisper on NBC. The red lights are a little.
Oh no, this is on CBS and ABC. According to what I'm seeing.
They're on CBS?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's 6:30. It's not 8. It's 6:30.
Yeah, the Sunday game.
Yeah.
Of course. It's 6:30. My bad. I thought if it was 8 o'clock. So NBC took the early game.
Yeah, there's no Sunday night game any longer.
Okay. Yeah, we're done with that for the year. No.
Yeah.
No more. Well, the sound will be the same. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should have flexed it for the cold. In my opinion.
Horrible lighting on top of the CBS cameras. I also agree. Kansas City to me plays down to the level of who they're playing. I think that showed from week 1, and I don't think they changed very much from that. Buffalo, although they will give you a good cardiac game, they're consistent. The defense will show up at some point, maybe. And, they'll win by 1 score. And I promise this will be my last musical number of the show.
Oh, no, please, more.
But, I know one team has a tradition. They love to sing at the end of the national anthem. And so my pick will be the home of the Bills.
Okay.
And Gabe Davis will be my player of the game. Watch out for Bills receiver, Gabe Davis.
Okay. Oh, it's a little added extra, little sprinkle in there. He gives us a player to watch. That's okay. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Well, Chris Lee.
This seems to be a trend. We have this last game, and I go against the tide. I'm kind of telegraphing my pick a little bit. Let me just start out by saying I agree with a lot of the points you guys are making about particularly Kansas City missing that spark that let's be perfectly clear. Eric Bieniemy, the former offense coordinator, brought to that team.
Yeah.
The creativity, the pizzazz that they had, it was part Patrick Mahomes, and that magic is still there.
Sure,
but the guys, he would make one part of it happen, and the guys would reliably make their part happen as well. And for whatever fire he has, and I understand that he came, he was not very well liked, in that particular organization for that particular fire, but it worked. It motivated his people. And made them do what they needed to do. And I think ultimately they appreciated that. in Kansas City, and they're missing that for sure. They do have a young weapon, Rashee Rice, who has been coming through here lately. He looked absolutely sparkling against the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, the Dolphins are the Dolphins. They have a stadium where they intentionally bake the other team, flambe the other team under the sun, where there might be a 40-degree difference between their sideline and the other team's sideline. And when they leave the comfy confines of Hard Rock Stadium and go somewhere like Kansas City, where the temperature is negative degrees, they languish. Jalen Ramsey didn't look nearly like the world beater that he usually does, and Tyreek Hill got his touchdown, but other than that, he didn't really look fantastic either. Tua, less said the better. Still kind of hurt by Tua. But that being said, the Bills, I like the Bills a lot. The one thing about the Bills that has me a little concerned is the injury bug. The Bills have been bit by the injury bug harder than just about any team left in the playoffs. And they had another injury in the game against the Steelers this past week. They got a lot of people on the injury list. The great Micah Hyde, he had full practice, but his neck is hurt. Stephon Diggs didn't practice on Thursday because his foot injury, and Gabe Davis hasn't practiced all week. And this is not to say that you can have some players that won't practice and come through in the game setting, particularly in the playoffs. This is not unprecedented. But particularly on the defense, there have been a lot of key injuries for the Bills. A lot of key injuries. Pacheco, he looked good against Miami. Will he look the same against Buffalo? Who's to say? I don't know if he's really going to be the difference maker. Kelsey's gotten a lot of flack, and rightfully so. He's dropped a lot of balls he wouldn't have dropped a few years ago. He certainly has not looked like the certain Hall of Famer that he's looked like in years past. He's kind of come down to the level of I don't want to say run-of-the-mill tight end, but he certainly hadn't distinguished himself too much more from Noah Gray, their second tight end. So all that to say, it's going to be a difficult match for the Chiefs in Buffalo. And yet, I think that the Chiefs somehow, some way, be it through either coaching or, and a point should be made that, our guy Andy Reid, for as great of a coach, a strategic coach as he is, doesn't manage the clock very well, even to this day. Towards the end of games, he still struggles there mightily. And if it were not for his magnificent quarterback, Mahomes, in that 13-second miraculous drive they had years back, they shouldn't have been in that position anyway. You know what I mean? The long and short of it is, I think the Chiefs somehow, some way, come out with a win. I think one of these much maligned receivers catches a ball maybe he wouldn't have caught earlier in the year, and they come through. I like the Chiefs to advance to the AFC Championship yet again. Then I think that maybe their run comes to an end up in Baltimore, but who knows?
I want to add to that. Thank you. That I've noted your pick. I want to add to that I did forget that they are the reigning world champions. And for moments, I forgot they're the reigning world champions. And I think there's something to be said for the fact that they are the reigning world champions, and such that there will be a great deal of pride that will go into everything that they do and how they play this game. And so I see your points. I see your points tremendously. And I want to say this as well. If Buffalo loses this game, what we know today as the Bills, that's over with. That's done. Yeah. Because I don't know how many bites of the apple you're supposed to get. Even if I don't know how many bites of the apple you're supposed to get. So having said that, actually, regardless of the cameras, I gotta say, I'm very excited that CBS is doing the game. They're a far more palatable, duo doing the game.
Yeah.
If we're honest,
doing the Jim Nantz and Tony Romo or
Nantz and Romo.
They're like the opposite of everybody. They have great audio.
Yeah,
they
but
do.
Their cameras have a lot to be desired.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like they get after it in a different way.
Yeah,
it's not Tirico falling for white men who obviously don't care about his black self and being so invested in whatever white area that they would never accept him for. Or two, it's not Collinsworth fawning over Josh Allen or Goff or
Josh Allen
or that whole thing. Hasn't done anything ever. It's not that. It's not, it's not Aikman and Buck. Aikman so prissy and pristine, and and Buck just
that was a disgusting act.
Feeling he's so too cute for the world. I mean, if it has to be a group to have Josh Allen against Mahomes, this is the group, because we trust Nantz in two other sports.
Oh yeah,
we trust him.
Yeah,
in two other sports. So and two other huge sporting events. And so because we trust him there, obviously we instantly trust him here where he cut his teeth. Yeah. But we trust him here as well. So I just want to say that as a they'll put a nice bow on it, almost to the point of oh gosh, I can't think of the guy's name. Gosh, I was gonna say Brokaw, but not Brokaw. But
Madden
almost
Madden Summerall?
No, not Madden Summerall, but what's my man from NBC? I could see a little short guy.
Bob
Costas.
Yeah. So
Costas
let me ask this.
Always had to say the thing to the end.
Robert
could this be the last time? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is Nantz and Romo the currently in all sports best booth out there?
I would tell you, I like Olsen a lot, and I hate that he's going to get moved for Chris's all-time QB. I hate that he's going to be moved for TB12, but I like Olsen. Olsen
had a lot of promise.
He still does. I hate this for him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's in the Monday Night Football booth at some point or somewhere else, but he was like the number one guy. Hopefully they just, I hate that.
Foxborough go with him. They really, I mean, especially,
like he's the total the antithesis of Witten. Yeah. Just the antithesis of Witten as a tight end, as a Hall of Fame tight end who comes in, who's intelligent, who's insightful, who knows what to say and how to say it, and isn't leaning one way or the other. And it sounds, I don't know. It's remember Bill Moss?
Oh yeah,
got Bill Moss. He
used to call like the third string for CBS, but he was always insightful.
But he tried to be. Bill Moss wanted to be young Matt Millen. He wanted to be Matt Millen.
I see.
But I was just going to say this. Olsen played it down the middle of the fairway. He didn't. Like the thing that angers me about Harry Douglas. First of all, you're a grown man looking like a fool with your hair like that on national television. but other than that, I think that angers me about Harry Douglas is I think he thinks it's cool to hate certain teams, like because Stephen A does it. But really only Stephen A can get away with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Jonathan Vilma.
Sure. But nobody thinks about it. I mean, come on. But I mean, Stephen A is the best at hating another team. But when the people that can play it down the middle of the fairway and the people that can really objectively watch it and tell you what's going on, those are the ones that you remember. And even though Romo loves the quarterback play and he gets a little out there, but Nantz is the consummate professional that brings it back. He's like having Cronkite in the booth or Brokaw in the booth. You know what I mean? I mean, he brings it on back with like the style and panache and class and grace.
He's rock steady.
Always. And never too effusive and never too going on forever like I am right now. So I
this is our show. We do what we want to do.
We can. You're right. But I'm very excited. I'm very happy. Not excited. I'm very happy that it's a CBS game, regardless of the cameras.
So I can't be like Bill Raftery and come up with a goofy catchphrase like onions.
I love Raftery because I love it because that's a college game. It's fine, but in the pro game, we just want it's the NFL, baby. You just want it to be you gotta chill. But the guy said chill. So you gotta chill.
You avoid David
Chris,
Baker.
who's your favorite boo, Chris? Who you like?
Ooh, it would have to be Romo Nance in all of sport. Yeah.
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 I'm with that. I think Romo Nance is the best boost in all of sports right now. Now I'm a big fan of the old Major League Baseball when they had Sean McDonough and Tim McCarver. That
Tim
particular
McCarver.
booth. I'm not a big
Gonna
Tim
take
McCarver
his
fan
mitt
per
and
se.
use it like a glove.
They called a game. They had a way of putting you in the moment. You know what I mean? The Brent Musburger. You're looking live at wherever in the NBA.
I will never forgive Brent Musburger until he goes and apologizes to Carlos Smith after that trash that he said about them from the 1968 Mexico City Olympics.
I agree.
Brent Musburger can burn in the hottest pit. Never mind. I'm sorry.
But he can call a game. But he can call a game.
Just stick to as they are fond of telling us, stick to the game. You know what I mean? Like stick to what you know. But I receive that point.
I'm sure John Carlos.
One last point about because you made mention of the lighting in Buffalo, and I think Joe and I both have an affinity for that. Do you remember Joe the Milwaukee Bucks old stadium, the Mecca, and when they used to play?
Oh God, look
Mecca and how the lighting.
It was the darkest place in America.
But wasn't it fantastic though? Like I really enjoyed
it was the darkest place in America. It's like if you look at the Mecca, it was like literally the darkest place in America.
It was wow. It was wow. Yeah. Like every other stadium, it seemed like had the lighting. You could see Jack Nicholson in the stands and whoever
but not there.
You go to Milwaukee and Jack Sigma and Terry Cummings and those guys, man. And...
Terry Cummings, thank you, thank you.
And Ricky, what was Ricky? Hey, my man Tap will kill me, man.
Sigma?
Ricky, no. So they had Jack Sigma, they had Terry Cummings, and then they had
Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief. They had Sidney Moncrief. Then they had another guy, Ricky. I don't know why Ricky Nattil, the wide receiver, keeps coming to mind because it's not Ricky Nattil, but. Tap will remind me very vigorously when he sees me again of that guy. But they had a squad.
When you say vigorously, this makes me think of Costanza. It says, what he said, I used a dumbbell today. I feel vigorous. That's what you. That's what
man.
Like.
They were playing in the dark, man, out there, and that's what these Buffalo games tend to look like. It doesn't matter what time the game actually is being played. It still somehow looks like around 7 p.m. or something.
At least at the very.
Ricky Pierce was the guy's name. Ricky Pierce.
Thank gosh.
Ricky Pierce and Paul Pressey. Those guys.
Paul Pressey.
At any rate, so we gotta Joe, can you recap our picks and
absolutely
let us know?
Absolutely. So Houston at Baltimore, we are all in agreement that the Baltimore Ravens will win the game. Green Bay at San Francisco, Calvin and Chris took San Francisco. I chose Green Bay. Tampa Bay at Detroit, we all chose Detroit at home. Kansas City, Buffalo. Calvin is the outlier with Kansas City. Chris and I chose Buffalo. And that is your divisional round.
Hey, the Open Tabs podcast coming through, baby, with the picks.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
A lot of things happened. We didn't really do a lot of game analysis. A lot of things happened. Mm-hmm. When Dallas did get their tails kicked, it's been very interesting. It's Thursday, and they are still dominating headlines, which is just insane to me. Because it's
America's
Thursday,
team, baby.
Apparently so. And I want to say this again. The San Francisco 49ers have not won a Super Bowl since Clinton's first term. Since right after the contract with America was introduced.
Okay? The contract with America.
The gentleman from Georgia.
Yes, the gentleman from Georgia.
Figured that no longer looks like that Marietta.
Georgia 6.
The amphibian.
Georgia 6. Yes. Or the 7th. Just want to say that. The Washington Redskins have not won a Super Bowl since George Herbert Walker Bush was present in 1992.
This aggression will not stand.
Will not stand.
1,000 points of light.
1,000 points of light. Yeah.
All of that.
All of that. 41. The Oakland Raiders, since 1984, Reagan's first term. I just want to say that. And the reason I say that is for a few reasons. But they'll all sit out there and it's like a slow hanging curve. Okay. I'm gonna bring it home. Yes, this team lost. Who hasn't won a Super Bowl since 1996? Who hasn't been in a title game since 1996? But they got their tails kicked. I did think it was odd that McCarthy was brought back because I don't think they're a play away. I think they have several issues. They can't run the ball. They have no linebackers due to injury and other things, but they have no linebackers. Dan Quinn just destroy. If he gets a job, I'd be shocked. If he gets a head coaching job, I really would be shocked. I know it was a bad day, but if you look back, it's usually good play by Micah and Bland and DeMarcus Lawrence. The rest of that is, it's Swiss cheese. It's it's fielder's choice. So I think he got exposed. And everybody had a bad day, but he had like a really bad day. Yeah. I really thought that with Belichick sitting on the pond, that Jerry was going to make a splashy move, because the Cowboys were the most penalized team in the league. And I think one of the things, and it goes to discipline.
Discipline. But he's already been up the Parcells tree before.
I know he has, but this is
the trunk of the tree.
But this is the guy. This is the guy that Parcells won with this guy. This guy Parcells, but this guy won without Parcells. Okay, with and without Parcells. Okay, so he didn't lose that Super Bowl against Green Bay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's for you, Chris.
I know. Right? Okay. That's also why I picked San Francisco.
As I watched in Mays Hall. Oh wow, you're still on that. Okay, I feel you. I understand.
31 is still painful.
Having said that, it's really interesting. I don't know. This is the first time I do believe, and I said this last year to my friend Josh Harris, who I've mentioned before, who's been a season ticket holder for years. Excuse me. I've said to Josh, this kid just doesn't have it. And it's okay that he doesn't have it. It's all right that he doesn't have it, but everybody else better have it if he doesn't have it. Okay. And Dak just doesn't possess it. He doesn't possess that thing that you need to go in and be an absolute killer. That thing that Russell had for that period of time. That thing that Lamar kind of has. That thing that Cam had once for one season. That killer, that thing that Young had, that Aikman had, that Jim McMahon had one season, that killer thing that I'm gonna step on this field, I'm gonna will my team to victory in spite of me. He's not winning the games.
Yeah.
And it was when they needed him to go out and win the game and lead the team and do all that kind of stuff, he wasn't there. Yeah. The other thing, back to the discipline and the most penalized team. When you're the most penalized team, you're not listening, you're not focused, and you lack discipline. And where does that begin with? To me, the coach is the head coach.
Absolutely.
So, who is the biggest authoritarian in the history of the league, other than Lombardi?
Yeah, Belichick.
Belichick.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying it would be perfect. And that's why I'm shocked that he's got the second interview in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shocked because we don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a conversation for another time, I guess. But we don't have a quarterback, so if he comes here, they're probably going to do it just like the Jets. Whatever you want. What do you want us to go do, sir? Because who are they to push back?
Yep.
Who was Terry Fontenot to push back on Bill Belichick? Who was Rich McKay to push back on Bill Belichick? No one.
I really wish Dallas had taken that chess piece off the board. I wish they had gone.
It's shiny. It's so shiny.
Yeah. It really, it kind of sets a lot of these other dominoes into place now.
It does.
And to your point, Joe, I think that you're right. Especially if you can't get your team to rally and focus during the playoffs
at home.
You know what I mean? I think that's damning. That's a damning indictment on you as a coach.
And the other,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I apologize.
I mean, I think that particularly a Dallas team that, let me talk about your point real quick, and then I'll turn it back to you. But about Dak not really having it reminds me of our favorite show, The Sopranos. When Richie Aprile just couldn't pull it off. You know what I mean?
Sell it.
He couldn't sell it. He couldn't sell it. And so we time and again we're saying, and they owe that man a lot of money next year. He's not coming off those books.
$57 million.
He's not coming off those books. So
$57 million. Did you hear what I said?
Hey,
$57 million.
I think Dallas made a lot of miscalculations. They certainly didn't have the defensive depth. You talked about the fact that after Trayvon Diggs got hurt. They were a shell of their former selves on the defense. They definitely, the Dan Quinn scheme has kind of a half-life, and much like the Legion of Boom, where they kind of figure out exactly what he's doing, and that half-life is coming to fruition, and they're not going to be that dominant team that they were this year. They the turnover margin, all these kind of things, those things always regress to the mean, much like my picks. They always come back to the middle, and I think that all told, Dallas has a reckoning. And Jerry didn't make that decisive move that you have to make if you truly, truly, truly want to win a championship in the NFL. One thing we know is that you have to strike quickly and decisively when the moment is there. And that's one thing, circling back to Bill Belichick, that he was known for. The diminishing returns, Richard Seymour, Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, you name it. When a guy wasn't cutting the mustard any longer, they were gone. They were out of there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he has that ability to be decisive and to make that decision that's tough to make, but ultimately leads to winning. And Dallas needed a guy like him, but instead they're leaving him to the Falcons, who right guy, wrong situation in my opinion. But we can talk about it another time.
Yeah, no, I know you're against it, and I hope it doesn't end up being a Lombardi thing. Which no one is drawing those dots, because none of these people know any goddamn history. But leaving this story thing and then going to somewhere else, and it still didn't turn to a championship. Actually, they got to the Super Bowl a couple of years later, but it wasn't right away. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chris.
I want to just touch on it. At first I didn't think my former coach should go to Atlanta, but in hindsight, I think he should. And it was after watching an interview with my Saturday Ball coach, and he talked about there is always only one side in the Cleveland locker room, and it's something he took with him and imposed it on the Saturday Ball thing, not to taint this beautiful podcast. And so, but it was the one thing, it was New England's motto all along: do your job.
Yeah,
I think that's more powerful for a professional team than Brotherhood and the other mottos that Atlanta has worked with. I think once he gets that 53-man roster to realize, if you do what you're supposed to do, that man next to you does what he's supposed to do, and so forth. Mm-hmm. I think it changes the culture and even just the mindset of that franchise.
Yeah. Well, so how many wins is Belichick from the record?
15.
And so
that gives us 2 seasons.
2 seasons. That's 2 seasons. Okay, that's point.
Playoff wins don't count.
No, they don't. They don't. He's going for the shoe.
That's why I said, we're going to win.
He might have a late great Denny Green type season now.
He may. So here's the other thing.
But that's still, you talk about the spoilers right now.
The Falcons have done this somewhat successfully in the past.
14-2. Good Lord. That team was
14. When they picked up Dan Reeves, you know what I mean?
Yes.
A retread, also ran coach who put it together.
Super Bowl coach couldn't get it done twice.
He put it in. And the difference here is that Belichick's shown he can do it for sure.
3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he went 3 with the Broncos.
Yeah, 86, 87, and no. Well, yeah, oh gosh, 86, 87, and 90. I can't. I'm 89. I can't blame him on that.
Nobody was.
Nobody's gonna beat that team. I don't give a damn.
Again, like
no.
The Falcons have done this before.
Mm-hmm.
And Reeves made the playoffs twice. He made the playoffs twice. He made it
and a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he went to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And then he made it again with Vic. And
that was really the late one. That's really the late one.
Yeah. So I mean,
there
I'm
were some
trying
years
to sell
between
myself on
those.
this.
There was some years between those teams.
Sure. But this Belichick thing, you know, I mean, like it seems that this train is inevitably pulling into the station, and that's what it's going to be for us. And you know, if we do something smart in the draft, I'm not saying we have to draft a quarterback necessarily, but if we do something smart there, which might be drafting a quarterback, but it might also be trading for, you know, a proven commodity, not a proven commodity coming off an injury like Kirk Cousins. You know,
I knew Kirk Cousins' name was going to be evoked.
You know, but if we somehow get somebody serviceable behind the center that's not going to turn the ball over, and that was even with the in the Matt Castle year, that was one of the linchpins for Belichick. You know, don't turn the ball over. That's what did him in ultimately with Mac Jones. So, you know, ball security being paramount, I think it might, you know, we might stand a chance. And if we win a Super Bowl, all will be forgiven. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
we should, I don't know, man. I don't trust Arthur Blank and certainly don't trust Rich McKay at this point. I think we've come to the point in the saga where we recognize who the true villain is. Arthur Blank is just, you know, he's like Barzini's a pimp. Or Tatalia's a pimp, right?
Tatalia's a pimp.
Tatalia's a pimp.
He never could have fought Santino.
No, it's Barzini all along. Rich McKay is Barzini.
He's not a wartime consigliere either. Rich McKay is not a wartime consigliere.
You know, Pop said, Jenko, look what I got.
Look what I got.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm rambling at this point. But
I'm there.
You know, it is what it is. At any rate, guys, great picks. I can't wait for this week's games. Lee, what do you want to do?
I thought we'd wrap it up. Before we go, I feel like Charles Barkley. I'd like to give a random shout out.
Sure, go for it. That's the open tabs tradition.
I want to give a random shout out to King Frederick X. Frederick, whatever his name is, over in Denmark.
Yeah.
Ascended to the throne 4 days ago because Mama said she was tired of it all. Queen Margaret II. But, you know, shout out. You know, this might be the only non-nerdy podcast to give Frederick X a shout out. And, you know, in case he decides to listen, you know, I've increased our international audience.
Hey, there we go. Hey, man, we don't know who's listening over in Denmark.
We don't.
Those Danes.
They haven't been hot since Hamlet.
hey, their day will come.
And the cookies.
Yeah, awesome. Yes. Joe, you have any parting shots at all?
I am dead, Horatio. That's my line.
I want to give a shout out to you, Joe, real quick before you give your shout out, because you know, so Joe Carlos Photography, guys, booming business.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're not following Joe, you know, on social media,
I know what you're
trying to tell you. I keep trying to tell you about Joe. I know what I mean. Yeah. Joe and his tributes during these the Greek anniversaries and celebrations, you know, there's quite a roll call there, and a lot of distinguished young ladies.
We're very blessed to know a number of people, and there's some wonderful people, and we're just very blessed to. And shout out to all I think we are done with it now. I think shout out to all for a little while. Shout out to all, at least right through there. Boom. Yeah. Shout out to all the fraternities and sororities, you know, and for their founders' days. Shout out to them. We started in of course in October, November, and then December, and then January. Shout out to all of and then SG Rose, and that date escapes me right now. But a shout out to everybody who's celebrating anything. Shout out to our friends from the Alpha Rho chapter, Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, who celebrated 100 years. Centennial, shout out to them. And not nearly as great a shout out, of course, as Chris's Danish King Shakespearean shout out. But a huge shout out to my clients who are Greek, and who, whether they wanted me to post it or not, posted photographs of them, acknowledging that I take pictures of a lot of deltas and AKs. Nice. So and I'm looking forward to taking pictures of more Sigma Gamma Rhos and Zetas. Just joecarlsphotography.com. So let's beef that up. Let's extend that one as well. That's
a long-standing sponsor of the Open Tabs podcast.
A long-standing sponsor. Yes, they take care of the graphics for us.
Hey,
Yes.
indeed,
Cross photography.
indeed.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right. Speaking of, man, you guys can catch us on Apple. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Anchor FM. Anywhere where you choose to listen to podcasts, we're there. You can also check the visual feed if you want to see our faces on YouTube. The YouTube feed is getting a lot of traffic there. I think our most viewed show, Joe, according to the statistics, was the house party show for whatever reason. I'm not sure why.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Was that during the pandemic?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was.
Sure.
I'll go back through and
I don't know what you came to do. I gotta go back. I gotta look. I can watch that one and listen to that one.
Yeah. But we are here, and we love all of our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you guys, wherever you may be, worldwide.
In Mark,
yes, and in
Denmark. Hey, look, all our Danish fans.
Thank you for the cookies.
Thank you for the cookies. We'll be back.
Healthcare.
We're gonna make picks all throughout the playoff season. Hopefully, at some point, we'll get back to talking about movies too. We do have one on deck.
We do.
We got it on deck. We got the graphic and everything. Waiting. And then slowly but surely, we both are catching these Oscar contenders. And
slowly,
we will get back to that tradition of having our Oscar night.
Can't wait.
I got my tux already.
Me too. I'm ready. Like Tevin.
We'll get back to our regular schedule at some point. But until then, guys, thank you for listening. We really appreciate you. Until next week, actually, we'll see you again. Peace out.
Peace.